About this and other developments in Israel's war on Gaza. He's a professor of public policy at Hamid Khalifa University here in Qatar. Thank you, Sultan, for joining us again. We hear again condemnation from the U.S. administration, outrage they've expressed over the killing of this activist in the occupied West Bank. But that doesn't seem to be stopping the Israelis or even, seeing them reduce the intensity of their attacks in Gaza. Another attack today on a school in the Nusayrat refugee camp. What does that suggest to you about the intentions of the Israeli government here?
Well, the intentions have always been clear from the very beginning. It's killing and displacement. If they're unable to kill the Palestinians, then they'd like to see them out of Palestine. But the issue here really is the United States should worry about its own interest, and its own interest now is becoming under threat in the sense that they are becoming really exposed in their collusion with the Israelis in these war crimes. The ICC, the ICJ are not asleep. They're taking time, they're considering the cases. South Africa has just come out again insisting that they will pursue the case until a verdict is made. And it is very clear that any nation is seen to support this kind of atrocities is liable. Now, people on the ground in Gaza should really focus on gathering the evidence that these missiles, these rockets, are US made. And this will probably be one of the areas where the US policymakers will suddenly take a pause and rethink. It's not just about protecting Israel politically. They have to start thinking about protecting themselves now. As we move into this 11th month, it's almost a year now, of incredible infringement of international humanitarian law.
Yeah, in this latest attack on that UN school in the Nusayrat refugee camp, the Israelis claimed they were targeting a Hamas command center in the camp at that school, which has been, the claim they always use when targeting these areas that are populated by civilians, which doesn't excuse whether or not they're targeting a Hamas-controlled center. The fact remains that civilians are in these areas, and that's a crime.
Civilians in these areas, it's a school building, it's a designated building. They would have had their GPS. The GPS, even before the war, of all those schools are known to them. It's an UNRWA property. There are many, many layers of legal protection that cover that site. And it is a site that was declared by them as a safe area for the Palestinians to seek shelter. So there is no excuse, really, and particularly when they use the aircrafts, the F-16s, the sort of thing that the Americans are supplying the Ukrainian with. There's a major hypocrisy in both fronts, that the Americans seems to pursue those conflicts without really understanding the implication that has on their own standing in the future. With the Ukraine, I don't know if you watched. Well, you presented the news a few minutes earlier. Yeah. The Secretary of State on the same podium, he talks about having just offered Ukraine $100 billion, and then he complains about Iran giving Russia missiles. Yeah. And if you reverse the story, it's the same thing with Gaza and Israel. On the one hand, they are supplying the Israelis with the machine to kill the Palestinians, and then he comes out and cry for the Palestinian victims. It's in their hand to take a moral stand on Palestine, on Ukraine, and everywhere else. It seems like at the moment they're going through this vacuum and misdirection.
And so where do we stand now, Sultan, as far as the ceasefire talks are concerned on Gaza? This plan that was announced by Biden, no one seems to be talking about it much anymore. Is there pressure on either side right now to try and get this back on track?
Well, the plan has sort of become really out of date. It was announced end of May. Biden then took it to the Security Council and made it literally into international law mid of June. Palestinians accepted it, the Israelis refused it. Now the Israelis have created further facts on the ground, including this corridor in the middle of Gaza. Yeah. Not the Philadelphia corridor. The Philadelphia corridor is an excuse for them to stay in Gaza.
Right.
But the corridor that worries observers is the one they created that split Gaza into two.
Okay.
And this corridor just north of the Turkish hospital goes all the way from east of Gaza to the sea, 4 kilometers wide. Israel will never leave that part. They have now split the Gaza into two. They will not allow Palestinians to return north without being screened by them. And they use the excuse of security, but it's really to make the Palestinians' life even more difficult. And as soon as there is a ceasefire, and there are possibilities for the Palestinians to make a choice, I suspect a lot of people, if they have the right, if they have the ability, they will seek to move somewhere else because the area now is totally uninhabitable.
Sultan, always good to get your thoughts and insight on this. Thank you very much for joining us on Al Jazeera. Sultan Barakat from Hamid bin Khalifa University here in Qatar.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.